All rich people are just lucky. Everybody who's ever made their money has lucked out in one way or another. But there's a secret to getting lucky that not everybody knows. My name's Kasim. I've built 6 million and multi-million-dollar businesses. I've had 2 successful exits, 1 for 8 figures. I've generated a $10,000,000 net worth, and my goal in life is to help you achieve what I call 3X freedom. It's financial freedom, freedom of dimension, and freedom of purpose. And I'm here to tell you right now, I'll be the very first to admit that I am only rich because I am lucky. I actually stole this from my friend Artyom Nikolai, who's one of the greatest entrepreneurs I've ever known personally. And he said this to me on a call, and I kind of chuckled, and I said, "You don't really believe that?" And he goes, "Oh no, I absolutely believe that. I only got lucky because I was on the field of battle. I'm rich because I'm lucky." And here's what's really interesting. That's actually absolutely true. I had the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world, and I sold it for 8 figures. Lucky me, I'm rich. Here's what's really interesting. Private equity groups, generally speaking, don't buy agencies. I sold my agency in a very specific financial climate that was almost a flash in the pan. COVID happened, the US government printed all this money, inflation ran away, interest rates were skyrocketing. A ton of companies decided not to go public or not to sell or not to pursue private equity or not to do roll-ups. And so the private equity world froze. If you know anything about private equity, these M&A groups and investment bankers and private equity groups, they raise all this money and they have to deploy. That's how they make their money, is by deploying. And if they don't deploy, their investors get pissy and they're not able to make their commissions. And so it was a really difficult ecosystem to be in, because the big deals that they're used to chasing, the multi-billion and hundreds of millions of dollars of deals, were all sidelined because nobody wanted to go first effectively. So what happened? They moved downstream, and suddenly businesses that prior to were not acquirable according to their models became acquisition targets. So they were really used to buying SaaS companies. If they couldn't buy SaaS companies, they wanted e-commerce companies. Marketing agencies had never hit their radar, but because SaaS and e-com companies decided to sit at this weird ecosystem, sit on the sidelines, marketing agencies looked kind of like SaaS and e-commerce companies, just in terms of the way their revenue worked, because they had recurring revenue and predictable revenue and the ability to calculate retention. And so I went from a business that was, from a private equity perspective, effectively worthless, to all of a sudden I had 60 unsolicited offers before I sold. And more, I still have offers for my agency, and I haven't owned it for 2 years. What's really interesting about that is the valuation for agencies has dropped massively. So people still buy agencies for that reason, but they're not paying what they were paying when I sold my agency. I was lucky. I was so lucky. Even more interestingly, I sold a Google Ads agency right before the AI bomb dropped. So I sold a business that was about to be effectively obsolete in a matter of months, and I had no idea. I'm the luckiest guy in the whole wide world. I got an 8-figure exit. I was able to, ride off into the sunset. And then next thing I know, I would have been left holding the bag when the company that bought me with 200 clients. 6 months later, they had 130. Luck, I was on the field. I cannot begin to tell you how many businesses I've launched and failed at. You can't get lucky unless you play. I'm not the only one to say this. I mean, think about every major success in the world in every single endeavor. So much of it is just about reps. You've read Malcolm Gladwell's book about the 10,000 hours. The prospectors who strike gold were just the ones who looked the most amount of times in the most amount of places and panned the most amount of, garbage. The authors that end up getting published are the ones that submit the most. You have to get your reps in. So yeah, I'm rich because I'm lucky, and you will be too. Entrepreneurship it's the most leverageable attempt we'll ever have. Unlike every other gamble, if you go gamble in Vegas, you're screwed. Odds are always in the house's favor. Entrepreneurship is one of the very few gambles that's actually in your favor. Because even if you're only going to win 1 out of 100 times, the 100th time the win ends up being literally exponential. So get lucky by getting out onto the field. And if you don't know how to get out on the field, go watch my video about the corridor principle. I think the corridor principle is one of the most important things for an entrepreneur to learn. It basically just says that you're not going to figure out what the big opportunity is until you're already playing a game. Any game. But interestingly, the opportunity won't be within the confines of wherever it is that you've chosen to start, which is frustrating, right? It means that just start, just begin right now today, and be ready to pivot. But once you're on the field, and if you're on the field long enough, you're going to find yourself with a lucky break. And, probably more than likely, you're going to find yourself with a couple. And the luckier I get, It's amazing. Luck compounds and wealth compounds, and money chases money. So go get lucky. Start right now today. Start working hard, stay out on the field, and I promise you, on a long enough timeline, you're going to have this exact same story. You're going to be like, man, I was just so lucky. Right place, right time. Go. But it can't happen unless you play.